The old gentleman is willing to pay 10,000 yuan to Xian as remuneration. Even if the treatment is unsuccessful, there will be an additional 1,000 yuan as compensation. Upon hearing about the 10,000 yuan, Xian was so excited that he almost squeezed Mr. Lu's hand to pieces. He made sure there was nothing wrong with the person before releasing his hand. He made a call to the person above to apply for something, indicating to his sister standing aside that she could let go of her hand. No need to tear his hand off. That's it. Xian took on some private work. Got in Mr. Lu's car. There is no way to refuse. After all, they are paying too much. Looking out of the car window, he was a bit puzzled. Why are there so many more couples on the streets recently? And they are all holding red roses. The car came to a stop in a villa area. Xian entered the villa together with Mr. Lu. The extremely luxurious decoration caught their eyes. He thought it would be great if the orphanage could be built in this place. That would be wonderful. He curiously asked Mr. Lu how much this big house would cost. It is said that someone once offered 5 million. The old man did not sell. During this period, 5 million is a huge sum of money. It seems that buying a house is still a long and difficult journey. He took the power of attorney that Mr. Lu handed to him. Whether he can receive the 100,000 yuan is still uncertain. Of course, we do not encourage it either. If there are changes in the risk after the fact, it must be reported in a timely manner. Even if the condition cannot be cured, there is a reward of 10,000 yuan. It's a good deal no matter how you think about it. At this time, the old man walked over with a group behind him. Medical personnel were pushing a huge iron box. Mr. Lu also tactfully stood up. He did not participate in the specific treatment process. Subsequently, he left with the medical staff. Only the elderly person and Xian were left at the scene. There was also a clang-clang sounding iron box. The elderly person saw Xian's confusion. He said straightforwardly that inside the box was his daughter. Her name is Xiao, and she is 21 years old this year. She only graduated from Main City University last year. But just 3 months ago, shortly after getting engaged, she suddenly went crazy. The old man consulted many experts, but none could pinpoint a specific reason. Therefore, he can only suspect that his daughter has been contaminated. Xian was very concerned about the old man's daughter and asked why he hadn't entrusted her to the Institute of Special Pollution Research, given how serious her condition had become. In fact, the old man is really helpless. If the news of Zhao's contamination gets out, even if she is cured, her reputation will still be seriously affected. The old man sighed. He stood up and slowly opened the box. A beautiful girl appeared in front of Xian. She was tightly fixed inside the box. She even had a plastic rod in her mouth. Her condition is sexual addiction. Like an animal, can have sexual intercourse crazily with any creature. Indeed, she is crazy enough. Only now does Xian understand why the old man wants to find someone to treat his daughter privately. The old man described the general situation to Xian with some difficulty. In the beginning, she was found having an affair with a servant at home. At that time, she was still behaving normally. She said it was just a moment of impulse. However, she quickly became somewhat hysterical, socializing in bars with many people, and started to become uncontrollable. Xian didn't find anything after listening. Cannot see the pollution source temporarily. Looks like it needs to take some action. Read to this point. He asked the old man if he could let her go. The old man expressed that if she were let go, she would go crazy and might even rush towards Xian directly. Xian immediately stated that he could control the situation, and he had a gun. This made the old man unable to mess around. It is not necessary to resort to firing the gun. After a struggle, the old man finally pressed the button next to the iron box. As he gently pressed it, all the straps restraining his daughter automatically came undone. The body that had been twitching incessantly suddenly lost its restraint and collapsed to the ground. In an instant, her eyes were filled with blood vessels as she pounced towards Xian like a wild beast. Just as she was about to pounce in front of him, Exion also started to take action, grabbing her hand that was reaching towards him, pressing his knee against her back, using his body weight to restrain the actions of this girl, who was acting like a maniac. Just then, 17 also appeared by Exion's side. She pointed to the girl's back. "Brother, look at this!" Looking through the clothes, I vaguely saw the girl's body. Something seems wrong. Exion tore off a big piece of the clothes on the girl's back. A face with a strange smile appeared in front of them. At this moment, the girl suddenly let out a loud and piercing scream. Her back unexpectedly grew tentacles. The old man behind her was also startled. Although he could not see the pollution source, the hysteria in his daughter's piercing scream made him tense instantly. "Don't move." Exion quickly stopped the old man, who was trying to come over. Countless tentacles grew on the girl's back, swaying like a group of seaweed swaying with the seawater. The faces on the tentacles bore various eerie expressions. They all looked at Exion in unison. The fair and beautiful young lady of a wealthy family. Something is hidden on her back. Upon tearing it open, it was discovered to be a face revealing a sinister smile. After being able to see the spiritual monsters, Exion discovered a dense mass of tentacles all surged towards him. They all had a strange expression on their faces as they laughed towards Exion. Exion, whose brain circuitry was abnormal, surprisingly found them very warm. He awkwardly showed a smile in return. However, 17 laughed even more happily. The tentacles that wanted to get close to the big brother were all torn off. After seeing this scene, the other tentacles immediately showed a terrified expression. They seemed to realize that the little girl in front of them was very dangerous. Almost at the same time, they all dispersed in all directions. In an instant, wherever the tentacles touched seemed to come to life. The table suddenly transformed into a girl, exuding an irresistible charm. Some of them lingered on a potted plant. The green plant instantly transformed into a slender green-haired girl. The old man was also affected. Various images flooded into his mind. Let those tentacles change as they please. Immune to pollution source, it had no effect on him. He thought that only very abnormal people would be attracted to those tentacles. Exion felt a bit helpless. His sister didn't come over to lean on his shoulder this time. Instead, she happily played on her own without needing his help. But at this moment, his sister found that as soon as she approached, those tentacles disappeared. "Brother, the tentacles are gone." Clueless 17 is unaware. When she wasn't paying attention, the tentacles emerged again. Although the younger sister is powerful, but the huge number of tentacles are too cunning. They retract as soon as the younger sister approaches them. Seems like she's being toyed with by them. As the older brother, Exion, how can we prevent the younger sister from being at a disadvantage? He began to analyze it. Theoretically speaking, psychic power cannot be killed. My sister has torn off quite a few tentacles up to now, but the overall number doesn't seem to have decreased. Each pollution source has its own key core. Seems like you've figured something out. He reached out and began to draw his gun. His gaze fell on the motionless girl on the ground. So, the problem was still with her. At the moment he drew his gun, all the lurking tentacles around suddenly became extremely tense. They all returned to the girl's back again, one after another. It seems that Exion's analysis was correct. The problem does lie with the girl indeed. Countless tentacles intertwined like twists, forming a huge tentacle, suddenly opening a large mouth towards 17, who wanted to get closer, revealing sharp teeth. If this were a normal child, they would definitely be scared and cry at this scene. But 17's eyes lit up, revealing an excitement that was hard to conceal. She also opened her mouth wide like tentacles, revealing those sharp fangs as sharp as blades. She bit down on the ugly tentacles in front of her in one bite. The tentacles only realized this then. Compared to the little girl in front of her, I'm just a piece of spicy stick. all trembled and wanted to shrink back into the girl's body. After the lesson just now, 17 had already learned to be clever. Both little hands held tightly. They tried hard to pull them out. Can't run away now, right? Looking at his sister, who was eating with relish, Xian's face turned green. This child really puts everything in her mouth. With the disappearance of the pollution source, the old man also returned to normal. He came to Xian in a panic, eagerly asking about his daughter's condition. Looking at her sister eating zero food next to the girl, Xian didn't know if she was okay. But the contamination should have been resolved. As the elderly person kept calling out the name of his daughter, the girl slowly opened her eyes. Just regained some consciousness. But suddenly became nervous. That thing. Suddenly saw other people in the room. She stopped. Seems like there is a secret. Hurriedly asked her father to take Xian out first. Seeing that they seemed to be discussing something confidential, Xian also tactfully walked out to get some fresh air. What they didn't know was, her little sister was still inside the room eating spicy strips. Not long after, 17 excitedly told Xian what she overheard. Brother, they were discussing an oil painting. Xiao said he was going to pick up the goods. The team that scavenged for the oil painting all died. She hid that painting away. Want to sneak it back to main city for research. Oil painting? Is it a pollution source? The old man walked out with his daughter. He expressed his gratitude to Xian for the help, thinking it would be a better excuse to take care of his daughter. He was preparing to take her back to main city for recuperation overnight. Before he could finish speaking, Xian shook his head and interrupted him. He is a principled person. It's not time for payment yet. The pollution source has not been dealt with. The problem is not completely resolved. The old man seemed very anxious, indicating that his daughter is now fine. He is willing to pay Xian double the reward, hoping that this matter can be resolved here. 17 came to Xian's side, saying that they are in a hurry to go to a place called Bungbu Port to pick up something. They are now anxious to hurry you away. If there is a problem with that painting, it will really cause trouble. It could harm more than just the father and daughter. He, who is serious about his work, only hopes to resolve the issue of the pollution source. 200,000 is excellent, but... The girl, however, raised the gun and pointed it at Xian at this moment. He believed Xian saw them as coming from the main city. Just wanted to deceive them. Even more so, she bluntly said she would shoot and kill Xian now. The administrative hall would also not consider her guilty. Seeing the girl harboring thoughts of harming her brother, 17 quietly came up behind her. A swiping sound. The claws slashed out into thin air. Not as many lives as Ranchin. It's better not to point a gun at Xian. Usually, there won't be any good results. Everything within the grip of the pistol was instantly dissected meticulously. Scattered from 17's hands, with a clattering sound on the ground. Never have the thought of harming this man. Otherwise, you won't even know how you die. The daughter of a wealthy person relies on her background in main city. They dare to threaten Xian with a gun. The next second, the hand gripping the gun suddenly scattered on the ground. Hearing the heart-wrenching screams of his daughter, the old man suddenly lost his composure. How could you do this? Even if you are from that department, you cannot harm my daughter like this. What the old man didn't know was that Xian had been trying to protect her all along. If he hadn't spoken up in time to stop it, 17 would have disassembled her completely. But just at that moment, someone else was foolishly aiming at Xian from a distance. With a bang, a bullet shot out of the gun barrel. The bullet was extremely fast. By the time the gunshot rang out, it had already reached Xian's eyes. You'd better not do this. His head suddenly tilted. The movement was extremely strange and fast. The bullet flew past his cheek. He was not happy at this moment. He leaped up and climbed to the second floor. He had already spotted the position of the shooter hiding in the distance. The bodyguard who wanted to fire a second shot was caught off guard when Xian suddenly appeared in front of him. Startled, he hesitantly asked if Xian was a human or a ghost. Xian didn't waste any words and used one hand to push him down. In the eyes of bystanders, as the bodyguard was sent flying, his body began to contort into a ball shape, making a muffled sound upon impact with the ground. He didn't die, but was reassembled like a toy, leaving only his mouth wide open in terror. At this moment, the bodyguards on the outskirts of the villa hurried over. Without saying a word, he raised his gun at Xian. Seeing this, Xian asked his younger sister behind him to handle it. "Okay, brother." 17 approached a bodyguard. Ordinary people couldn't see 17. The bodyguard suddenly found his body starting to lose control. She controlled the bodyguard's hand, turning the gun towards those who wanted to harm her brother. Without hesitation, she pulled the trigger. Those who hadn't reacted yet fell to the ground with a thud. The bodyguard then turned the gun back towards himself. He was powerless to stop it. All that was left was panic. The desperate cries for help abruptly stopped after a gunshot. Fine. 17 happily dismantled the pistol. The newly arrived bodyguards were instantly wiped out by Xian. The younger sister seemed to have thought of something at this moment. She looked up and glanced at her brother. At this moment, she was like a child who had done something wrong. She was afraid that her brother would be upset. Because Xian usually doesn't allow 17 to hurt others like this. This time, Xian didn't blame her. Instead, he indulgently stroked her little head. "It's okay." Mr. Liu's voice started to tremble. Among all the power users he had encountered, Xian was the only one who made him genuinely fearful. Did I not reason with her? She was the one who pointed the gun at me first. Xian looked very calm, without any hint of anger or resentment on her face. But it gave Mr. Liu a sense of horror. Do you really think you can act recklessly just because you joined that department? The old man is still roaring weakly. Xian did not intend to bully anyone. Of course, no one should bully him either. That painting is not something you can handle. If something goes wrong, it won't just be your problem. The old man was stunned after hearing this. Clearly, he had not expected that his secret had already been discovered by Xian. Dealing with pollution sources is one of his principles. He decided to report the old man's secret pollution source to the authorities. Since you were not cooperative first, this cannot be considered a breach of contract on my part. After all, if I breach the contract, I won't get paid. Let's clarify things first. Xian immediately dialed Jing Chen's phone number. She detailed the threats she received and the incident involving the vice president to her. Shortly after, Jing Chen and the support team arrived at the villa. Being efficient, she went straight to the point and asked the elderly person where the painting was. "Colonel Chen, I know your department has a lot of power. But this time, you need to explain to me." The elderly person directly complained to Jing Chen about Xian's behavior. Unexpectedly, Jing Chen immediately entered a protective mode and stated that Xian's workflow was not an issue. "If you feel that he did something wrong, you can file a complaint. Our headquarters will make the judgment." Jing Chen seems to know him, and is aware that they usually hire private scavenger teams to transport things into main city for themselves. But some things will cross the line. Jing Chen asked the elderly person to go with her to retrieve the painting, and then wait for judgment. Those who break the rules must pay a price. This is the bottom line of their Qingyang city. The support team later successfully found the oil painting at Bengbu port. Jing Chen asked the father and daughter to tell the truth. They knew that even if they didn't speak, Jing Chen, who possesses hypnotic class power, could make them talk. The old man then revealed that 2 months ago, the scavenging team claimed to have found some valuable items. At that time, he couldn't get away, so he sent his daughter Xiao to meet with them. Jing Chen's pupils dilated and turned red when he heard this, looking at Xiao. "Miss Su, please tell me everything you know." Xiao's pupils suddenly turned red. "Tell me everything that happened that day." By the time she arrived, all the members of the search team were already dead. "Even though I don't know what happened, those things are all there. And there was something else that they hadn't mentioned before, that painting. Since seeing that painting, she has been deeply drawn to it. Without her father knowing, she secretly hid the painting herself. After successfully keeping it a secret from her father, her mood improved significantly. She wanted to share with someone. The feeling gradually grew stronger, and she couldn't resist anymore. She called Ah Chong, who was on night duty, into the bedroom. The feeling was too wonderful. She still wanted to see that painting now. She didn't want to be woken up. After understanding the specific situation, Jing Chen asked them to get off the car. Someone will escort them to headquarters for further investigation. Only Xian and Jing Chen were left in the car. Xian curiously asked what the painting really was. In his understanding, only living people could become pollution sources. Such items are called psychic parasitic items. Through certain power or methods, some items are able to carry and store psychic power. The car was halfway through the journey when it suddenly encountered a traffic jam up ahead. A girl in a wedding dress was holding a bouquet of red roses, standing in the middle of the road proposing to a man. The boy ignored her crazy move, turned around, and tried to run away. But he found himself unable to break free from the girl's hand. "I already love you so much. Why can't you love me the same way?" At this moment, the girl's mental state obviously seems a bit off. She suddenly pounced on the boy and kissed him directly. "I love you. Never want to be apart from you. So, I'm going to eat you up." In an instant, the girl's kiss turned into a bite. The girl's mind was contaminated. Her words and actions became extremely crazy. Not only did she propose to her ex-boyfriend in the middle of the street, she not only kissed the boy directly, but also displayed extreme possessiveness. She never wants to be separated from the boy. A thought of devouring him even crossed her mind. The kiss turned into a bite. Roses scattered on the ground. The girl started screaming frantically. The voice seemed to have a magical power, constantly assaulting the eardrums of everyone around. The crowd instantly became just like the girl, all becoming passionate for love. They could feel that something was very different. Jing Chen, who was far away in the car, suddenly changed his expression. At a glance, it was clear that this was a sudden spiritual pollution incident. Immediately called for Xian to fasten his seatbelt. Quickly turned the steering wheel. At the same time, stepped on the gas pedal to the maximum. But due to the chaos in front, many vehicles have already piled up around. The car is trapped in the middle with no way out. At this moment, Jing Chen made a decision. She slammed on the gas pedal and crashed into the guardrail. The intense emotions continued to spread. More and more people were contaminated. After breaking through the iron fence, Jing Chen immediately picked up the phone and said, "The second satellite town, east of Jiujiang Road, has experienced a sudden spiritual pollution incident. Send people to clean up quickly." Little did she know, at this moment, a middle-aged man was approaching. He was smiling and cheerfully got out of the car. He slung a rocket launcher over his shoulder, squinting with one eye. He aimed at the jeep that Jing Chen had just driven out of the iron railing and pulled the trigger directly. "Ha! Brother, run quickly." 17 sitting in the back suddenly smirked at Xian. The sister laughed. Life and death are unpredictable. The corner of the eye stared at the streak of fire that was coming rapidly. It seemed to slow down all of a sudden. The rocket exploded under the side of the jeep with a loud bang. Instantly, flames shot up into the sky. In the moment of the explosion, he saw his sister reaching out her hand to him. "Brother, I'll help you." Sister's power helped Xian to alleviate a lot of the impact force. The heavy and solid jeep was directly blasted away. At this moment, a familiar figure came into view. He was carrying a box containing oil paintings in his hand. Just before getting on the car, the man suddenly turned around and looked back. A strange smile appeared on his face. Surprisingly, it was Ran Qin. Isn't he supposed to be in the containment center? Could it be another Ran Qin? A strange sensation of hair standing on end suddenly filled Xian's mind. until hearing Jing Chen's voice. Xian then reacted. Looking back, I saw that Jing Chen had already kicked open the car door at this time and was struggling to climb out. He kept asking Xian if he was okay. I'm fine. His voice was already hoarse. 17's eyes lit up, looking at Xian's thighs scratched by the glass. So much blood. Brother, you are injured. Perhaps the bright blood color stimulated her. Xian felt like she was about to burst into laughter. Brother, don't cry. When there are many wounds, it won't hurt. The icy cold little hand gently touched Xian's injured leg. The wound healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The pain disappeared instantly. Jing Chen, who climbed out of the car, completely ignored his own injuries. Urgently asked Xian if he had seen Ran Qin. Xian understood her meaning. Just as he was about to go and keep Ran Qin, his younger sister tugged at his sleeve and pointed to the side for him to look. The cars stuck on the road all opened their doors at the same time. The people inside all got out together. They had blank expressions on their faces. They lifted 6 cylindrical gun barrels arranged together, pointed towards the location of Xian and Jing Chen. Oh no! Jing Chen suddenly took a deep breath, because what they were holding in their hands were heavy-duty multiple-barrel Gatling guns with extremely high lethality. Suddenly all the gun barrels started rotating at the same time. Terrifying firepower was sweeping towards them. At this moment, even Jing Chen felt despair at this moment. Watching the bullets flying densely, Xian's heart pounded violently. It hurt a lot. But Xian felt somewhat familiar with it. That was the feeling of despair. He automatically raised his hand, blocking in front of him. Clearly sensing the endless bullets flying towards him, but he was not harmed. Xian vaguely felt a shadow approaching in front of him. It was a strange sense of security. Silly child. Didn't we agree not to let ourselves be bullied? Why is it still so dangerous? Mom bent down and hugged Xian and her sister, letting the bullets fall on oneself. Facing the firepower cover of 5 Gatling guns, Xian subconsciously raised his hand. He detested this feeling of despair. At the critical moment, Mother quietly appeared in front of him, blocking all the bullets. If his mother had not appeared, when the aura of destruction enveloped him, this man might have done something unimaginably crazy. Jing Chen, standing behind Xian, had already widened her eyes. She saw a scene that would stay with her for the rest of her life. Countless bullets were suspended in midair. In Jing Chen's eyes, Xian seemed to be holding up a shield of psychic power in the shape of a person. To be able to withstand the simultaneous firing of 5 multi-barrel J guns, this must be an incredibly powerful spiritual level. At the same time, I also felt an indescribable fear. Was the Red Moon Orphanage destroyed by this level of psychic power? She forcibly made herself sober. Her bright red pupils stared intensely at the people madly shooting in front of her. You are holding the most powerful weapon in your hands. Have them. You can destroy everything in front of you. You who possess this kind of power. Do you feel like the king of the world? But there can only be one king. Since you all have such weapons, why not try whose firepower is stronger? Her voice has an unusually penetrating power. Under Jing Chen's hypnosis, these people holding Gatling suddenly became bewildered. Yes, I am the king of the world. They turned the barrels around. They were firing at each other with the same weapons they were holding. Seeing the wounds caused by the bullets, what flowed out was not blood. Xian then realized who these few were. They were the mentally reconstructed individuals left behind by Ran Qin. Mom was like dusting off. Countless bullets fell off her. Not a single wound. There wasn't even a wrinkle on her clothes. She looked at Xian with a smile. This time, you were really bullied badly. Xian lowered his head slowly and self-deprecatingly. Yes, he almost died. At the same time, Jing Chen instructed the person on the phone to immediately seal off the second satellite town. The painting has been taken away. All of this seems like a prearranged situation. But when it comes to the red roses, suddenly a special contamination has spread. She was suddenly startled. She immediately ordered the second satellite town to issue a level 1 alert. The shrill alarm sounded throughout the city's airspace. In the memories of the people in the city, this kind of alarm has not sounded for nearly 10 years. At this moment, the madmen contaminated by the red rose are sweeping through the city like a tide. People are fleeing in panic. Level 1 alert. It used to happen only during large-scale collective actions of madmen, when they attacked the walled city. Jing Chen informed Xian about the situation after giving the orders. The second satellite town is not the only place. Signs of serious large-scale pollution emergencies have also appeared in other city districts in various directions. Jing Chen suddenly noticed that Xian seemed to be acting strangely at this moment. His mysterious expression made it unclear whether he was smiling or pondering something. Ah! Things have gotten messy. Looking at the chaotic scene in the city, Mom chuckled softly. She looked Xian straight in the eye, smiling ambiguously as she asked how Xian wanted to proceed. I am also considering what to do. Eyes devoid of any emotion, staring intensely in the direction Ranqin left. Mom came to his side. That person is very cruel. He snatched your painting, almost harmed you and your sister, and then left in a carefree manner. He is probably still laughing to himself. You are all fools. Look at your sister. What kind of frightened look she is now. 17 stares at Xian warily, with a look as if she's ready to escape at any moment. Xian suddenly became a bit agitated at the sight. It seems more like his sister is scared of him. Jing Chen shouted anxiously at Xian. She sensed a dangerous aura emanating from Xian's body. Her intuition told her so. At this moment, Xian's emotions must be in a very bad state. No. You have to keep talking to him at this time. The entire second satellite town has been threatened by pollution. Single unit. Do you still have the power to perform the task? What did you say? The whole city is in chaos? Xian's face finally showed some human-like worried expression. Jing Chen nodded and continued. Everyone in the second satellite town is under threat, he said on the phone. Without waiting for Jing Chen to finish, he hurriedly rushed forward. The sentence, everyone in the second satellite town is under threat, seemed to strike a nerve with him. He started worrying about Red Moon Elementary School. Arriving at the chaotic road, he saw a motorcycle lying on its side. The owner, who was injured in the recent accident, was in pain and pinned to the ground. Xian went over and helped lift the motorcycle. The owner shouted a loud thank you to him, but before he could finish, he saw Xian straddling the motorcycle and revving the throttle. The owner who was left behind was directly stunned. Was this a motorcycle robbery? The sister kept a close watch on Xian. At this moment, she appeared in front of the car dragging a teddy bear toy. Brother. Xian did not have that scary look on his face. 17 suddenly showed a smile on his face. Watching Xian's current actions, Jing Chen finally relaxed. She made a phone call. The pollution on Jiujiang Road is spreading. Suspecting that it is related to a girl who has proposed. The polluted object. It seems that there is an extraordinary love for one's lover, and accompanied by extreme possessiveness. The kind of desire to devour the other party. She has issued 2 orders to all investigation teams. Immediately stop and interrogate anyone who exhibits abnormal behavior or mental state. If the other party is desperate to find a partner, in all senses of the term, and cannot be persuaded, killing is allowed. Secondly, immediately broadcast through all media such as TV and radio to inform everyone to lock their doors and windows tightly and hide immediately. Do not think about searching for your family, especially fuck couples. Same-sex couples are included. Everyone, the safety of the second satellite town depends only on us. The mother, who has always been by Jing Chen's side, suddenly showed a faint smile. She was curious about how Xian would handle this matter. Let's go! 17 sat on the motorcycle, holding on to her brother tightly with both hands. They happily shouted all the way. The motorcycle's tailpipe was spewing long black smoke as it sped towards the city center.